I am starving and we're in an electric vehicle. Is there an app for Talabat or Zomato where I can have something delivered to us in this car?
Man, unfortunately, this is not one of those cars where they try to give you such apps. This is the Audi E-tron.
Okay.
Audi's main game is to keep it as simple and as much of an electric car, as much of a regular car that you're used to. And yeah, so no, we're both hungry until the shoot is over.
So is this a direction that's right for electric cars? I mean, remember the heyday of when the combustion engine came out? We saw tons and tons of experimentation until we finally sort of settled into the car form that we are using until today. I don't know. I think you should go a little wild when it comes to new tech and electric, right?
I think that they sat down one day and they were like, okay, we're getting electric cars, guys. We're going to give competition to Teslas and GMs and yada, yada. What do we do to separate us out? And someone who's in that meeting said, we should not think out of the box. Let's be inside the box while everyone else is going outside the box. And fair enough, that's a strategy for them.
Sure.
I don't know, maybe they're out there to convert an already Audi audience to the Audi electric audience. And that might appeal to them. So for example, my partner is an absolute Audi fan. She sat in this car and she was like, oh my God, I love Audis. Look at the class, look at this. And I just was like,
so look, I'll give you two things over Tesla when it comes to this car.
Fair.
The styling, the exterior styling is nice. I like the way it looks from the outside, I mean, it looks like a really nice car. And then the fit and finish is quite nice as well. The leather stitching, how everything is sort of very non-shaky when it comes to Tesla. You know, we've heard quite a few issues where things aren't exactly fit very well.
Clearly Audi has the years and years of experience of making cars.
Absolutely. So yeah, from that perspective, I like it. I like the way it looks from the outside, and I like the finishing on the inside. Now, as far as the look of the car goes from the inside, it just like you mentioned, it looks like a very traditional car. There's nothing that screams electric about it.
Nothing.
You know,
nothing at all.
You're like, okay, I can see all of these things on your regular combustion.
Yeah, if you weren't, let's say, a person who notices things, the only thing that shows electric is the range on this side. That's it. And that also technically, you know it's electric because that tiny little, so instead of a petrol tank with a fuel nozzle, it has a petrol tank with an electric socket. That's it. That's it. You would not know. And again, I repeat myself, for the first time when I saw this car and when I spoke to Audi about this, they were insistent about the fact that they want this to be just another Audi, except for the complete change in lifestyle as an EV.
You're driving it. I've kind of driven it as well. And I didn't feel that punch that you feel when you're in a Tesla, right? I mean, when you just hit, I'm not saying that it's you know, it's not responsive. It is very responsive. But that punch that you get when you hit on the Tesla, I'm assuming this is not the right model to compare this to.
So, I've never driven a Model X. The big one?
Tesla, hi, hello. We're here, we're recording. You hear Danish, he's ordering one. Might want to send one in for review. All right.
So I've never driven one, but I actually looked around. I was like, what are you talking about? But I've never driven one, and I don't know in such a large car if Tesla feels the same way. Obviously, I've heard a lot about it feeling extremely responsive. But yes, I agree with you. You can feel the weight in this car. But that being said, again, this is an SUV. It's aimed to be an SUV. I think Audi went, okay, let's take a car we already have and let's, you know, let's just work that out.
Let's just electrify it, basically. But then that also results in certain challenges, right? I mean, taking existing design and then just trying to fit in the electric part of it versus doing something completely, you know, completely different. So let's start with that, and let's start with the charging part of it, the battery and the charging part of it. What is the maximum range that this car gives you?
So official numbers touch almost 400. But
which isn't a lot.
Which isn't a lot. But then when I got the car, I got 100%. It was already showing me 370. Now credit to Audi, I got 370. On the dot. How much? I sped a bit, I drove slow a bit, everything, regular city driving, I got my 370.
And I'll also confirm that because I had the car for a couple of days.
Yeah, when you took it to Ras Al Khaimah.
Absolutely. So I took it to Ras Al Khaimah, and the night before we were driving, I checked the range and how far it is and so on. And it told me I have 260 kilometers on there.
Right.
Ras Al Khaimah is 110 kilometers for where we were going. So 220 on the way and back. I figured we'll have the AC working, etc., etc.
Right.
You know, should hopefully get me back. And fair enough, it did. We had like 35 kilometers left when we came back.
Right.
So yes, you're absolutely right about it sticking to the range it shows. It doesn't drop drastically from what it
doesn't.
Which
it doesn't.
Tesla does, unfortunately. It tells you a range, and then suddenly you don't have that range anymore. So hats off to Audi on that part where it actually sticks to that.
Definitely.
Okay, now let's come to the charging aspect of it.
Now, we're going to discuss a lot further, but let's just be honest, Audi is not completely to blame in all this. The thing is, the infrastructure in the UAE is still growing. And now, one factor that you and me have to keep in mind is that at least as far as daily driving goes, a huge tension would be lifted off our shoulders if we actually own this car and we had chargers at home. Right?
For sure.
So you'd be easily charging the car for 8 hours a day. Easy. Right? And definitely covering all the daily driving you did. Now, for example, go to the office, picking up the kids, all that would be covered in your daily driving. The only time you'd feel the tension that we felt with this car, and just now before the shoot to charge up the car, all that would be felt only if you didn't have that charger.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough.
So let's keep that in mind. That being said, yes, external infrastructure, very varied, lots of chargers not working, not enough fast chargers. While global fast charging is at 100 kilowatts, we're still at 50 kilowatts.
Right. The one thing that I want to point out on this is that I charged it at home using your standard wall outlet with a 3-plug. And the charging was ridiculously slow on that, to the point where I was just getting about 5 kilometers an hour of charging. So don't do that. If you're planning on buying this car, install a regular charger on you. Exactly, because just plugging into a 3-plug will just get you like maybe 50 to 60 kilometers of range per night, which obviously isn't enough if you're driving around the city much. So yeah, I agree with Danish there. You need a dedicated charger for this car, and that charger overnight will definitely give you easily.
I mean, that's a standard rule for anyone looking at any electric car in Dubai. You want to buy an electric car, you better have the extra money to put the charger at home, because don't depend on infrastructure.
But then coming back to the app and connectivity part of it, CarPlay supported, wireless CarPlay supported.
Absolutely.
You know what my favorite feature is? When you leave the car and it's on the wireless charger, it actually tells you, do not forget to take your phone. Something we've talked about previously.
It does. So, okay, on that detour, let's discuss all the tech in the car. Technically, you've got a lot of screens. So there's one screen up here, which is for your infotainment, Apple CarPlay, all that stuff. There's a screen down here, which replaces all your AC controls. So that's great. And then you've got another screen in front of you, which is for your speed, if you use navigation, date and time, all that kind of information.
There's a heads-up display as well.
There is a heads-up display as well, which also can be customized. So basically, lots of ways to get information. But I'm hoping, okay, fine, first shot, I'll let it go, Audi, but next time, I want one giant screen.
100%.
I don't want this 2 screens business. And the funny thing is, you see these buttons over here, those buttons, if I click here, the interactivity happens up here.
Top,
and I'm like, why are those buttons down there? So that definitely is something that Audi needs to look into. But
I agree. A giant, massive screen versus these smaller screens is definitely the way to go.
Definitely has to happen. But listen, the screens are good quality, all of them. I'm pretty sure they're OLEDs.
Okay.
Even if I'm wrong about that, even if they're LCDs, they're very good quality.
Very good quality, I agree. Very bright as well.
Very bright. I mean, right now, all these screens are in dark mode and very clearly visible, nice blacks. This one is definitely better than these, but it's still a really good screen. And yeah, on that aspect, I've not had any issues with the car.
So let's talk about the 2 more screens that are present on our doors, which replace the side view mirrors, which I really didn't feel there was a need for that. But let's go ahead and talk about that.
Okay, so on both sides, and this is optional, you've got basically virtual mirrors. So instead of a mirror, you've got cameras. You've got cameras and you've got a little screen here. Now, while driving on the road, like right at this moment, I've got a fantastic view of the road because the angle of the camera is such that it lines up with the road when you're driving. So if you see here, this line is perfectly attached to it, right?
Nice.
So that sticks very nice. But when driving, when parking, when very close to another car, oh man, mayhem, absolute mayhem. But Audi has a response for this, which is firstly, it's optional. And secondly, by having these screens here, you get 7 kilometers more of driving range because those are better for aerodynamics. It's one of those things it's great Audi tried it, but I think there's a bit more tweaking.
I completely
because
agree.
one thing is for sure, the minute you're parking, you have to bank on the 360 camera that the car provides.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, there's no other way of knowing exact distances. To its credit, the 360 camera, in my opinion, is fantastic.
No, that works quite nicely.
It was fantastic. So yeah.
So again, like I had a little bit of experience with this as well, and you're absolutely right. Like when backing up,
right.
I don't know. I think it's a flat screen at the end of the day.
Right.
The mirror is kind of flat as well, but I feel like I get more perspective out of the mirror versus these screens. These
Definitely.
appear very flat, and it's very hard to gauge how much space you have.
In my 3 days of driving, literally just on the third day was when I was understanding how far behind my wall actually was on these mirrors.
So maybe something that you could get used to.
Yes, definitely something you could get used to, but I would expect the resolution and the low light mode on these cameras to get better. It's still very good. I'm not saying it's bad.
I had no complaints with that.
Yeah, it's very good, but I think it would get better, which in low light would help with that perception, that understanding of perception.
So interesting that you brought low light up. A couple of times while I was driving this at night, I could see the flickering of the road lights on the screens, which you don't see on, kind of like when you've got your very fast iPhone camera and that,
because at the end of the day, it's a camera and it has a certain frame rate, which I'm not sure what it is. But I even caught that on the parts of the road where there's an LED light.
Right.
So the flicker would pass over there as well.
So the one thing that I wish they should have done is that now that they've used these screens on the sides, they should have had screen for the rear view mirror as well, because you're switching between your mirror and screens, continuously, and that throws your brain off a little bit.
So first of all, I just don't like the way the rear view mirror looks. It's just so bland and it just doesn't match up to the car.
That should have been a screen too.
It should have been a screen, or at least the option of a screen, because I agree with you. The perspective difference where you're looking at a screen versus looking at a regular mirror is very, very conflicting. Very conflicting.
Okay. All right. So then let's finally talk about the driving aspect of it. How was the drive? What did you feel about it? What are your thoughts on that?
So, like any electric car, just such a smooth drive, so comfortable. And in general, the car has loads of drive modes, which I appreciate. So I was able to lift and lower the car whenever I needed.
Right.
But that being said, a little sluggish. I didn't, one thing I love about electric cars, Dubai, you're in traffic, just make a quick cut, just make a quick cut. But I couldn't do that here too much. I felt it was still a bit slow. I could do it on highways, but smaller in tight traffic, couldn't do it.
I think it feels like you're driving very much like a normal car, other than the fact that you need to keep pushing it for backing up and stuff like that. It's very quiet. Obviously, there's no engine, so there's no engine vibration. There's road vibration, which you would feel when you're going on, any car, but there's no engine vibration. So from that perspective, it's quite nice. It's not a bad driving experience, but it's not as radical as I would have liked my electric vehicle.
Agreed. And so basically, I think we both are a part of the audience who is literally not what Audi's not aiming at. They want the people who want that regular experience. Because I guess out there are people who find, let's say, the whole world of Tesla and other companies so intimidating that they might just be appealed to the fact that this car just looks and feels the same.
No, absolutely. Makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.